I guess the questions many Australians would have is whether or not Donald Trump is able to separate perhaps his personal distaste for Anthony Albanese with his commitment to Australia generally as an ally and as a nation.
I just don't get the sense that the Prime Minister there in Australia has done much to reach out and build a bond with the new president who's returned to office. And like I said, I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but I don't get the sense diplomatically that your ambassador here has done much to help break the ice as well. When you look at the scheduling that goes into a UN General Assembly, there's only so many hours in the day, and there's a lot of people that want to see you. And I think you're going to prioritize the countries and the leaders of those countries who have sought to forge a better relationship.
You mentioned our ambassador to the United States. That, of course, is Kevin Rudd. Viewers here in Australia will be shocked to learn that he hasn't exactly demonstrated wonderful personal skills over there. I want to talk about the memorial service for Charlie Kirk yesterday because it was quite extraordinary. You had speakers at this service, including the President, the Vice President, the Secretary of War, the Secretary of State, the Director of National Intelligence, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, just to name a few.
And we have to bring back religion to America because without borders, law and order, and religion, you really don't have a country anymore. We want religion brought back.
May our Heavenly Father give us the courage to live as Charlie lived.
His deep belief that we were all created, every single one of us, before the beginning of time, by the hands of the God of the universe.
All of them spoke convincingly about their Christian faith and the need for a revival of spirituality in America. So in Australia, what should we make of this? Was it just the occasion that got the better of them, or is there a genuine revival of Christianity in the United States?
What happened yesterday was one of the most moving, touching, and profound moments in American political history that I've ever seen. For the last 8 days, I have really reflected on this man that I called a friend, Charlie Kirk. To your point, James, this sense of revival, not of political motivation, but of faith in a 31-year-old man. And when you heard his widow, Erica, speak yesterday so eloquently, the way that she forgave that individual and invoked Christ was hearkening to all of us to look to our better angels about how to move forward. What Charlie did wasn't just about politics. It was a call to faith. I cannot believe what I witnessed yesterday and how monumental it was to see all of these leaders talk about the same common through line with Charlie Kirk and the profound effect that he had on our lives as our country, and I dare say our world.
Yeah, it was absolutely historic. And as you said, it wasn't just influential in the United States, but has been a huge influence right around the world as it was broadcast globally. If there is to be a revival of spirituality, I don't think it will be led by Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar. She's doubled down on her hatred of Charlie Kirk.
I am not going to sit here and be judged for not wanting to honor any legacy this man has left behind. That should be in the dustbin of history, and we should hopefully move on and forget the hate that he spewed every single day.
If you compare Ilhan Omar's attitude to that of Charlie Kirk's widow, the contrast is quite stark, isn't it? It's quite stark. You had tens of thousands of people cheering as Erica Kirk forgave a man for shooting her husband dead, while the left won't forgive Charlie Kirk for saying words that they didn't agree with.
They want to excuse the behavior on the left, and they say both sides have violence. But it's amazing to me the reaction and the lead up to it. And what I mean by that is think about all of these issues of violence. When there have been incidents of violence on the right that have occurred with folks on the left, it has resulted in vandalism, destruction, violence, hatred. Look at what the last week has invoked. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people, I dare say, that have been called to prayer, to faith, to honor and faithfully and peacefully protest the death of him, but in a call to faith and to activism. And I think the reaction and the demonstration that you've seen from how people reacted to Charlie Kirk shows that one side is very different than the other side in terms of how they act and react to situations of this nature.
Yeah, it's certainly a very clear demonstration of two distinct worldviews and the fruits of those worldviews. While we're on the subject of forgiveness, has Jimmy Kimmel been forgiven? He was abruptly taken off air after giving a monologue last week suggesting Kirk's killer was part of the MAGA gang and mocking Donald Trump's reaction to the assassination. But Disney has just announced the TV host will return to his show.
Of course they did. And by the way, just to be clear, he has never apologized for this. He spread misinformation and lied. And frankly, the big thing that people in Australia need to understand is there's a difference in the United States about our broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, and our cable networks. The ones that use public airwaves, those networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, have a responsibility to the public. In fact, the FCC, which is the government agency that regulates them, they have an obligation not to spread misinformation. And when Jimmy Kimmel uses a late night show to attack the MAGA movement, and in fact, not just attack it, but lie to the American people about the nature of this heinous crime, then ABC, by allowing him back on, is complicit in this. These people are lying and using the public airways to do it, and it's a shame.
Just before I let you go, Sean, you mentioned ICE agents earlier. Californian Governor Gavin Newsom says he's going to legislate to force Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers to show their faces rather than wear masks. Here are his comments.
This is an outrage, what we have allowed to happen in this country. And I could not be more proud of this legislature, the legislative authors, to the community demanding more from all of us at this moment to push back. I'll be signing a bill, the first in the nation, saying enough. To ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Sean, to unmask ICE agents, is this a good idea?
Well, first of all, just to be clear, it's a stunt. He has no legislative. These are federal agents. They have federal authority. They don't really care, or there's no legal authority for Gavin Newsom to tell a federal agent what to do. It's just, so it's a stunt. Let's just call it what it is. But secondly, the only reason that their faces are covered is because they're being doxxed and threatened by the left. They're putting out their names, their addresses, their faces, and their families under attack. And just one little bit of irony in this whole thing, James. Those same leftists that are so concerned about mask wearing never had a problem with telling everyone they had to wear a mask during COVID. They never had a problem with a mask when Antifa was committing acts of violence and destruction and vandalism throughout cities in America. So it's interesting that they suddenly now care about masks when they never seemed to care so in the past.
Bingo. Sean Spicer, you're always a joy to speak with. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.